Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is going to be an interesting video, and the subject is Dark Souls 2. This is a highly hypothetical and silly subject that I'm going to be covering with it. It is essentially what I want in the game if I was making it. So take all of these with a pinch of salt, guys. A lot of them are completely unfeasible and unrealistic, and the list I'm about to read from, it ranges from the practical and things that would improve the game to just silliness that I came up with that I personally would like to put in the game, mod the game in such a way that I could have that for my own experiences. And the hope of this series is just to get a little dialogue going, a little bit more excitement before the game comes out, because we don't know when it's going to come out. We think October, we think next year, we think blah blah blah. Doesn't really matter. All that does matter is we're excited about it, we're all curious of what each other think about it, and this is just going to be a little video where you get to sit down and listen to me tell you of some of the things that I would do. And you can leave your ideas in the comments. It's that kind of thing. And I do apologise if you hear me moving my mouse. This is going to take some mouse work to scroll down, so just bear with me. But essentially this is Dark Souls what I want. And they're in no particular order, these thoughts. I just literally put them down randomly when they came to me in a notepad, and I'm going to read them off. And like I say, some of them are stupid, some of them are awesome, some of them are down to interpretation. The first one I've put is differing boss rewards, depending on if conquered with phantoms or without. The more phantoms in play, the more insulting the reward. Level could potentially affect this also. So there you go, boom. Let's use Artorias for an example. You beat Artorias, you get Artorias' soul. That is a drop that happens every time. And I'm not saying take away the soul of Artorias during that, but maybe the amount of souls that you get, if you have a phantom with you, it lessens. You know, maybe if you're a high level, you don't get the soul, you get a shard or something, so that you can kind of dictate what you get from a boss to drop. Bosses would have to be completely revised in how they die, and that way they could almost work like a snuggly trade, where if you kill Artorias between level 1 to level 25, you can get a Titanite slab. But if you do it between 25 and 50, you only get a Titanite chunk, or the soul and a Titanite chunk. And obviously, I'm using Artorias as an example, so don't go, oh, Artorias is blah, 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 blah. It's not about that, guys, he's just an example. This could be Taurus Demon, for all we care. But just this concept of manipulating the bosses, and also encouraging players to not just summon phantoms to get through this game. These games that we love, don't just destroy them with over-leveled, over-equipped phantoms that have played this game more than you. The whole joy of Dark Souls is the feeling of overcoming something that is universally seen as difficult. And that is completely mitigated by some people because they're too afraid of the challenge. And I think an incentive such as this not only enables the higher end level players to exploit the bosses, but it also encourages the lower end guys to just give it a try. And I think that could really, really help it, but once again, might be a little bit unrealistic. So the second thing I've got on my list is allow menu access during NPC dialogues. So this is just a little pet peeve I have against Dark Souls. I'm not sure if it's the same in Demons, but when you, for instance, attack, Thurland, good old Petrus, when he warns you after you've attacked him when he's going to aggro, you cannot go into your menus at all. And that is bullshit. It shouldn't be that way, and I don't know why it is. It's a very strange priority system. It's a strange hierarchy of not being able to do that, and I don't know why. And for instance, if you don't have your Estus Flask and you're injured when you start attacking him, you can't go and heal before the fight. He'll start coming for you, and only then can you access your menu. So it just seems really redundant, and I'm hoping it's something that is tweaked to allow for just something very small that you might not have noticed to change. And the next one is enable/disabling of automatic equip to hotkey item spaces. So what I mean by this, guys, is if you have nothing equipped in your hotbar for your items, when you pick up an item, it will automatically assign it to be in there. And I've been playing as a dragon, a low-level dragon earlier on, which is going to be the gameplay you're watching right now. And all I wanted was the 2 dragon items in my hotbar, so I could swap between the raw and the breathing fire, or the breathing whatever the hell it is. And every single time, I'd get to a certain part and I'd go to scale through them and I'd have like a fucking soul of an undead douchebag. Or a random thing I'd picked up like a piece of shit or rubbish. And it's just a nuisance having to drop those. Like, if you had to go in and equip things to that menu for them to be equipped, wouldn't that teach the player that that's how the system works, rather than just throwing them in there for him? And I think it encourages management of items and your capacity more than just the game kind of helping you. And this is Dark Souls, this is the Souls series, guy. These games don't help you. These games hinder you, so it seems strange that it would work that way. It's almost something quite, different to what FromSoft usually do. So the next one I've put here is probably going to be a popular one. It's boss souls are able to be used / unique upgrade paths for armor. So what I mean by this is, guys, is I want the boss souls to have more of an effect. I don't want them just to make weapons and shields. I would like them to make unique armor. And I would also like unique armor upgrade paths to exist, so that you could reinforce, your chest piece to be good against magic, or to be good against bleed, or to be good against physical. We could even get really exotic and have it good against very specific, nuanced stuff. But I would love boss souls to be able to be upgraded in armor, and armor to be unique. I just wanted more of an emphasis on armor, because with weapons we're fine, with shields we seem to be fine. Like bows. Have you noticed how you can't seem to make many unique bows on Dark Souls? I think it's only the Dark Moon bow. And in Demons it was the Lava bow. So bows have always been neglected as well. Same with crossbows. So just a larger emphasis on the upgrade. I'm not asking for it to be too ridiculously complicated, just something a little bit better. So the next point is server invader NPC events. So what I mean by this, guys, is I don't know how it's going to work in Dark Souls 2, but I would love it so that FromSoft were able to do special events where they populated the world with Black Phantoms. And I don't mean all the world. It could literally be, a tweet or a notification that's sent out by From on their website saying, this Saturday there's been an incident in Katarina. There's been, a prison riot, a bunch of usurpers from that capital, from that, that principality, whatever you want to say, and some of their convicts, some of these dastardly thieves, have escaped their custody and wandered into Lordran territory or something. Whatever backstory bullshit you want to say, give us an excuse to have red phantoms in a certain area, So-and-so, a legendary warrior, has been spotted in Sen's Fortress. And you go to Sen's Fortress in human form, or even not in human form, it doesn't really matter, and boom, you get invaded, or there's a guy stood there all fucking menacing with, double Black Knight swords and no chest piece and Havel's leggings, and he just comes rushing at you, spamming combustion. Just, it'd give them so much opportunity to put amazing things in these games. Just at the drop of a hat, enable this, enable that, and I love the invade feature of Dark Souls, and I love the NPC feature where, you can get the Xanthus Crown guy to come in your world, you can get Mildred to come in your world, you can get Paladin Leroy. I want to evolve it, and I want it to happen frequently if we can, because I think it'd just make it such an interesting experience. And the concept of a world server event where these NPCs are coming, I think it could be awesome. And I think the potential for some idea like that is limitless. It is completely limitless. It could be so much fun, and I would love to see it, and that is why it's on this list. So the next one is a slightly longer one, but I've mapped out a return to the passive bonuses given from weapons you do not have the stats to wield, plus the inclusion of differing effects / combinations of gear to get hidden bonuses, a la specific headpieces and specific gloves give 10% bonus to fist attacks. So ignore the example. All I'm trying to say there is, in Demon Souls, when you used a weapon you couldn't use, it often gave you a feature, a certain ability. Also, the weapons themselves had these features that you could use in an offhand, and what I want to do is I want to see that return, and I want to see an evolution of that, where you can use two weapons in sequence, or a weapon and a piece of armor, or a shield and a piece of gear, that together give you a passive bonus, or give you some kind of an effect. So that the combinations and the creativity that people can go to with different bits of gears just increase the wide breadth of builds, the wide breadth of abilities, and just the diversity of what you see. Like, you can completely kit your guy out to benefit in a certain area. And obviously this would have to be tweaked and balanced immensely, but just so much science that enables people to get creative. And, you know, exploring these effects and figuring them out would be so much fun as well, because everybody would be pairing weird things together, and you would definitely see more player creativity and just, you know, more unique builds. And I think that could be such a good feature. Because Demons started it, Dark Souls completely forgot about it, and I would like to see that return, and I would like to see that return in such a deeply nuanced meta that it could be something amazing. So that, I think, would be great. The next one is item durability. Items equipped should hang on the player's belt, exposing them, sorry, no L, no splosing in here, exposing them to vulnerability throughout the world. This would encourage item management and more adept usage of the menu system, rather than relying on hotkeys. And there's an addendum on this one, guys. It says Estus Flask should be damageable and require a specific remedy, a la the curse. So that item is literally, if you're going to equip things so you get the benefit of being able to access them quickly, you have to run a risk. You have to stay on top of them in maintenance, you have to repair them at the bonfire, or however you want to do, and if somebody starts attacking you and you're spamming that Estus Flask, it will break. I'm not saying break after 5 hits, I'm not saying break after 10 hits, this would have to be extremely moderated so that it was fair, but you know, if you overuse that item, you can be punished. And when it breaks, God help you, because then you don't have easy healing, and it will not work. And you have to go and see Laurentius, you know, down in Blighttown, talk to him, get a very exclusive dialogue saying you seem to have broken the Estus Flask. Only, you know, only the people from Oscar's tribe who have the undead favourite know of the way to fix such a legendary item. So then you have to go and locate, I don't know, a special NPC who is dressed just like Oscar was, who knows of this item because it's a family heritage, and knows of this legendary way to fix it, which is said to be at the base of this primeval tree. So you have to go down, you know, the Great Hollow, and at the bottom of the Great Hollow there is an item, you know, that's populated specifically because your flask is broken. You pick it up and boom, you have the ability to fix your Estus Flask. You know, that's just me riffing off the top of my head just there, but it could be such a cool concept, and it would teach people the ramifications of playing sloppy. Because one of the things I hate about the Estus Flask is how easy it can make the game when all you do is kindle it super high, get a load of bonfire keeper souls, reinforce it, and you've got 20 flasks at all time, and you're chugging like a bastard during the boss fights. I understand why it's that way, and I understand why people like to do that, but I really think it would give people's actions consequences, and it would force people to become better players, and it would make it punishing. It would make it very punishing, but it would make it worthwhile. And I think that could be cool. But that is something that you would never see. You'd never see that, guys. And I understand why. Because that is, it's insane, but I think it's cool. But I've put New Game Plus should increase difficulty indefinitely, even after New Game Plus 7. I've also put it should also repopulate enemies in areas, or even increase mob sizes. So what this is for the people who play Dark Souls a lot. This is for the people that enjoy the New Game Plus cycling. This is for the challenge runners. This is for the people who want that new experience. And difficulty increasing above New Game Plus 7 is just a given. It should do that. It doesn't make any sense why it caps there. It should continue until it's unrealistic to beat. The repopulation of enemies, I think, is an interesting notion. You know, because you've gone through this game so many times and then suddenly the area is different. You have cats. You know, cats in Sen's Fortress or something daft. You know, it could be so creative. It could almost be like the director from Left 4 Dead trolling you. And it could make even getting out of the damn asylum tough. You know, can you imagine if you had the Sen's serpents in the asylum at the beginning? That would be terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Especially on the New Game Plus cycles. And increasing the mob sizes, I think that, you know, that would be perfect, because you're going through the game again, there's a couple more dudes there. They don't have to be Red Phantoms, just more dudes. And when you're on New Game Plus 60, and you're saying this isn't fair because I've just been attacked by 50 hollows in the Berg, dude, you're on New Game Plus 60. What did you expect? This is Dark Souls. This is not fair. This is, you will die a lot. Prepare. Just prepare for that fact. So I think that could increase the playability, increase the lifespan of a game that is already almost infinite if you're creative and you enjoy it. I think that would be amazing. I think that's something that you should be able to do in the PC version with mods, but apparently you can't. But I think that would be just great. Completely great. And there we go, another New Game Plus one. So New Game Plus should give players access to New Game Plus specific gear/bosses, making it much more difficult for every arsehole in the forest to carry the best stuff. Example, Sif is only fightable in New Game Plus 2, and the Four Kings are only show up in New Game Plus 7, but they give you the Crestfallen Sword, which has a passive curse ability, to build up the attribute on the blade. So that is just a silly example that's, you know, there to tickle the fans who know quite a lot about Dark Souls. But the concept of specific gear and bosses only showing up on certain cycles of the game, meaning if you want to make a certain weapon build or get a certain super powerful weapon, you have to earn it. And you have to earn it by beating the game. You have to earn it by beating the challenge. And you have to really earn it, because New Game Pluses are not easy, guys, you know. You can have the cheapest setup, you will still struggle on certain moments because the game is hard and the game scales hard. So this idea of only having certain bosses appear at certain spins, I think could be really cool and interesting. And it'll also deter, as I mentioned, every wannabe idiot who ruins PvP for whatever reason before he learns how to mod and cheat. He can't just go ahead and have every character with this ridiculous setup. He has to earn it. And then you can't say anything to that guy because he did earn it. Even if he is a wanker, he earned it. And that would make it very interesting. Once again, it'd make PvP, you know, much more difficult to have these ridiculous overpowered builds until somebody finds a cheat, an exploit, a mod, you know, the kind of thing. But still, it's depth. It's depth, and it's one of those signs where if you see a guy with a Crestfallen Sword, you go shit. You go, oh shit, because not only is this guy good enough to get it, but this sword has a passive curse ability, which when he strikes me, it's building up like bleed, and if he gets that bar to the top, I am fucked. But luckily enough, on this version of Dark Souls 2, there is a blue moss, you know, that I take, and it lowers my curse bar, so there is a counter to it, it's just very rare. Moving on to the next little factoid here that I've put in, curse should be an ailment the player can weaponize. So I think a lot of us have seen those hacked weapons on PC, or those hacked weapons on consoles, because there's a very famous guy that does this, where when they hit you with their weapon, you immediately get cursed, you immediately die, and boom, there's nothing you can do. And it looks amazing, it looks awful, it looks criminal, it looks a lot of things. But you can weaponize every single attribute on this game except for curse, and I don't understand why. I mean, sure, it does kill you when it builds up, but they could balance that so that the build-up is slower. Or the item that remedies that build-up is much more frequent than anything else to find in the game, so you've always got a lot of it, and it's just down to player management and your responsibility if you do get cursed. I think the concept of seeing one of those bars filling up and knowing it has an ultimate ramification is a great idea. And people might think, it wouldn't work, dude, because, you know, assholes would get the best build that's, you know, mid-maxed to use this ability, and it'd just be a cursing mess, and everybody would just get destroyed, everybody would complain, it would be a troll fest. But think about it like this: when somebody's got the Priscilla's scythe, the Life Hunt scythe, I think it's called. I'm just completely brain farting on its name at this moment. When they hit you a few times with that weapon, that bleed is insane. 500 bleed payoff is crazy, guys. And if you've seen that at a strong weapon, if somebody's got that on a high level character, that bleed kills you. That bleed kills you every time, unless you roll through it, or unless you've got the moss. Because the first few hits that built it up damaged you quite a lot because he's a high-level guy, and the bleed payoff murdered you. How is that any different to this kind of curse status? It really isn't in the grand scheme of things. It isn't. And I think weaponizing it would be cool, because it allows people to be more creative. And I like what people look like when they get cursed. I think it's cool. I think it's really cool. But the next one is kind of an expansion on the idea of passive abilities with different pieces of gear. Ring combinations should create hidden effects. So one of the cool things about Dark Souls is figuring out what the rings do, because the description on them is usually quite vague. Sometimes they tell you, sometimes they don't. It's all depends on the amount of tease that From Software wants to give. I think putting ring combinations to get an extra bonus on top of what the rings already do, not only is that an incentive to use different rings, combine different rings and be more creative, but it also adds an element of depth on a system that is already quite detailed, you know. You don't have to give us 5 extra ring fingers so that we can pop different rings on. Just give us this ability to put 2 together and get a bonus buff. Bonus debuff, you know, that kind of stuff. And they don't all have to be positive. You could have a negative one. They can be negative and positive. This is not about being overpowered. It's just about the detail, it's about the knowledge, and it's about the player creativity to combine and get these fantastical characters. And I think that could be something really, really special. But I think the next one's going to be the last one, because I'm about 20 minutes deep, and I'm going to do these in 20-minute sessions. So this is the final one for the first part. Run speed should be drastically affected by the armour you wear. Someone wearing the heaviest armour and running at the same time as someone in the lightest should never be able to catch the other. And a lot of people might say that already kind of happens in this game, but it doesn't, and it's not noticeable enough. There should be a significant difference between run speed, because there should be an incentive to wear lighter armour, you know. Heavy armour is a crutch for a lot of players, and the movement speed is different and it is noticeable, but I would like the running speed to be really effective and really affected in heavy armour. Because the amount of times I've been in the forest and I've been chased down by twin Havels, and this is after the flip ring, you know, got rid of the ridiculous speed they had then, and they've still been able to backstab me. And I know a lot of it is lag, but they should not be able to chase me in any kind of fashion. I should be fucking Speedy Gonzales at that point. It should be a case of, when you start chasing somebody and you see they don't have that much armor on, you're straight in your menu mid-run, unequipping something so you can catch them. There should be a consequence to armor. There should be much more consequence to it, you know. And I hope that there is in Dark Souls 2. I hope it exceeds running speed. I hope it exceeds a whole bunch of different variables, and it could be really, really interesting. But that is the first page of 3 pages of this that I have, and you know, tell me what you think of the project so far. Hopefully it goes down quite well. Hopefully people enjoy it, and you will be seeing the next parts regardless, because there's a lot of stuff on here I want to share, because it starts to get much more interesting later on this list, because I have some cool stuff that I would like to see. So thanks for watching, and you take care now.